If you love hearing the origin stories on how your favorite cocktail was invented, then today's episode is just for you. Because today we're going to be examining modern classic cocktails written by Robert Simonson. Welcome to Cocktail Limelight. I'm your host, Eric Castro, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive into one of my favorite cocktail books, and that's Modern Classic Cocktails, written by New York Times cocktail writer Robert Simonson. And this cocktail book is perfect for all of you out there who happen to love classic cocktails. Because Robert Simonson is not only a longtime friend, but also an incredible writer and the author of many award-winning books, such as The Proper Drink and 3-Ingredient Cocktails. But as y'all know, today we're not here to talk about those books, we're here to talk about his latest book, Modern Classic Cocktails. I'm a big fan of the book because it features the origin stories for over 60 classic cocktails. If you want to learn about all those cocktails, you're gonna have to pick up a copy of the book, which you can order down at the link below. Because today, we're only gonna be making 3 of my favorites. And the reason why I chose those in specific is because I feel like they're a proper representation of what you're gonna find in the rest of the book. Now, the reason why I've been championing this book so much recently is that the book itself is an invaluable resource to those who love hearing the accounts and interviews that provide a deeper context into the cocktail itself. Because I have long believed that the stories and lore around the drink are every bit as important as the recipes themselves, as they allow us to better appreciate not just the cocktail, but also the context of which it was born. But enough of me chit-chatting, let's go ahead and make some of the cocktails that are in the book. Now, the first drink that we're going to be making is called the French Pearl, and it was invented by Audrey Saunders, a legendary bartender who was already featured in an episode of Cocktail Limelight. Now, y'all already know how I feel about Audrey Saunders. The woman is a cocktail genius, and anyone who feels differently, I will hunt them down and make them drink a glass of orange juice immediately after they brush their teeth. Some weird shit to say, huh? But in all seriousness, this cocktail is a virtual masterclass in how to layer and stack flavors while also creating something new from the composition. Because essentially, it's a Southside with the addition of absinthe, but just describing it like that doesn't truly do it justice, as the drink is much, much bigger than that. But enough talking about it, let's go ahead and make one. To make a French Pearl, first we start out with about 10 to 12 mint leaves, followed up with 3/4 ounce lime juice, as well as 3/4 ounce simple syrup, followed up with 2 ounces of London dry gin. And then thus far, if you look in the tin, everything that we have in there is pretty much just a Southside. But what distinguishes it from a Southside is the addition of 1/4 ounce of absinthe. Next, I'm gonna add some ice to my tin and give it a shake. Now we're gonna go ahead and strain this concoction into a chilled coupe. Now for the garnish, we're gonna hit it with a single mint leaf over the surface of the drink. And there you have it, folks, the French Pearl. An herbaceous and vibrant take on the classic Southside. Now, this next cocktail has a very special place in my heart, which is why I included it in an article that I wrote for Eater back in 2015 titled 9 Awesome Cocktails That Should Be Considered Modern Classics. And the reason why I included it specifically was because regionally, in San Francisco at least, the cocktail was already considered by many a modern classic. However, outside of that region, it was still largely unknown, which is why I wanted to spotlight it in that article. However, in the 7 years since, the cocktail has continued to bloom in popularity. Needless to say, the cocktail itself is perfect as a warm weather sipper. However, it works year round, as it used to be on the menu at Bourbon and Branch when I worked there, and we sold them all day long. The drink was created by John Santer, who named the cocktail the Democrat, as an homage to the 33rd President of the United States, Harry Truman, who was known for enjoying a little bit of bourbon whenever he had the chance. Now let's make one. First, let's start out with 3/4 ounce lemon juice, along with 1/2 ounce 1-to-1 honey syrup, as well as 1/2 ounce of peach liqueur. And lastly, 2 ounces of bourbon. Now we're gonna add a few pebbles to our tin before we give the cocktail a good shake. Now let's go ahead and pour this mixture into a chilled Collins before we top it with more crushed ice or pebbles, whichever you happen to have. Before we garnish it with some mint sprigs and half of a lemon wheel. There you have it, folks. The Democrat. A cocktail with a political name, yet is anything but divisive when it comes to green on its deliciousness. Cheers. Now the last cocktail that we're going to be featuring from the book is called the Ancient Mariner, and it was created by the one and only Jeff Beachbum Berry. It evokes all the flavors that we love from classic tropical cocktails, which is probably why it has already taken a seat next to some of the most iconic cocktails in the genre. In addition, the cocktail is super easy to make, and I would guarantee you that most likely you already have all the ingredients you need to make it in your home bar. Now let's go ahead and make one. First, we start out with 3/4 ounce lime juice, followed up with a 1/2 ounce of grapefruit juice, along with a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, and a 1/4 ounce of Pimento Dram. Next, we're gonna move on to our rums, and those rums are 1 ounce of Dark Jamaican, along with 1 ounce of Demerara Rum. And just like the previous drink, we're gonna add some pebbles or crushed ice to the tin before we give it a shake. Now the purpose of the crushed ice is that we added just enough to bring a little bit of chill and dilution while also aerating the cocktail. Now let's shake it. Now we're gonna go ahead and pour this into a Collins glass before we top it with more pebbles. Now as for the garnish, we're gonna hit it with a generous mint sprig as well as a lime wheel. And there you have it, folks, the Ancient Mariner. A cocktail, although it was invented in the 90s, tastes every bit as authentic and as delicious as any of the tiki cocktails created during the golden age of tiki. Cheers. And with that said, folks, here are 3 modern classics that I feel like every cocktail lover should have in their cocktail Rolodex. But that's only 3 of the 60+ cocktails that you'll find in Robert Simonson's book. So if these were enough to tickle your fancy, I guarantee you, you're gonna be even happier once you pick up a copy of the entire book. Now that wraps up today's episode, but if there are any other books that you'd like us to feature on a future episode of Cocktail Limelight, be sure to leave them in the comments below, and who knows, maybe it'll be featured in a future episode. Now with that said, don't forget to muddle that like and subscribe button, and if you'd like to dive deeper into the Wolfcraft cocktails, be sure to check out the Bartender at Large podcast, which I host on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else where quality podcasts are found. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.